Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
I expected a lot of very simple 49ers talk today where you'd have to use small words to get through it. Instead, now we're going to do an intellectual conversation.
Yes, and by intellectual, you of course mean the Chicago White Sox, right? Is that
they are going to drop their season ticket prices,
which is crazy. The fact that is most teams now in pretty much every pro sports league are raising prices across the board. The White Sox are like, we're going to drop them 10%, which I guess is a good thing because it means fans will attempt to possibly go to the ballpark because it won't be.
Oh, I think it's a realization on their part that they're
bad.
That the last 2 years it's been an inferior product. I mean, and the entire decade has not been like that. They've made the playoffs. They've
3 years ago they had a good team. They were above 500.
Yeah,
here they are.
I mean, made the playoffs twice, won a division once, and finished 500. Then the last 2 years have been an unmitigated baseball disaster. So. In an era where, first of all these teams thought they'd be swimming in dough because of the regional sports networks. But now regional sports networks are suddenly crumbling, and the idea that you can lower ticket prices, so that's they're going to do that. Now, overnight, might as well go into your wheelhouse, the U.S. men's national team named a new manager, and this ought to change everything. I'm sure they'll win a game now.
So the U.S. hired long-rumored coach Mauricio Pochettino.
Who's never been a manager of a national team before.
He has not. He has previously managed the likes of Southampton and then Tottenham and Chelsea in the Premier League and Paris Saint-Germain in, of course, Paris, France. He's handled a lot of really good players. He's a very talented coach, and the feeling is that he was one of the best candidates for the position, and if you could get him, that was an incredible steal. And it is now 2 for 2 on the U.S. Taking managers that have managed Chelsea in the last 3 seasons to become their head coaches. Emma Hayes is the U.S. women's national team head coach. She won the Olympics with them, and she was incredible. She's a great coach. She's one of the best in the world in the women's game, and so hiring her was a no-brainer. Poch is the same way. He's a good coach. He knows the system. The players will also, quite honestly, respect him because he's like good at his job. It feels like a step in the right direction. We're finally getting someone who is going to lead us into the 26 World Cup, who at least has some semblance of an idea of what he's doing. Because it felt like Greg Berhalter didn't. It felt like he would never take the blame, and Poch will take the blame. He's a manager everyone player-wise has loved playing for. He's got great tactics. He has been let down by his owners in the past, but in this case, he's not going to be because he gets to pick who comes and plays for his team. Everyone will respect him, and I'm very on board with this. I'm happy. I'm happy, man. That's what I am, Steve. It brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah, well, if you we'll see.
Hey, we at least we have the person in place, which is a positive.
I thought the Morocco game was huge.
Yeah, it was. But I'm
4-0.
You know, we're gonna just think about the fact that we have ourselves a good coach, and he's got a year to build up, which is what we've been asking for. Is give him a year, and then he gets the World Cup cycle, and hopefully he'll be able to take us into the World Cup here in the US of A on home soil and go for it. And if we can get to the round of 8, the quarterfinals.
The round of 8.
If we can get to the quarterfinals, it would be a great job by him. I think that is a more than fair statement to make. If you were to say the U.S. makes the quarterfinals of the World Cup when we are the U.S. and we are not good at the sport, I think that's a great season. I think that's a great run. And we'll have made it out of the group stage, made it out of the round of 16, because there's going to be a boatload of teams in this World Cup. So it's going to be competitive and it's going to be good. It's going to be here in the U.S. And I think Poch will do a great job. You don't seem to have the same confidence I do, Steve.
To our credit, we're not good.
No. And the club Mauricio Pochettino managed up until 4 months ago was Chelsea. And I wanted to... This is something that has been talked about heavily going into this Premier League season, which starts officially tomorrow. And I wanted to bring it up to you because I know we love discussing bending the rules to your advantage and the craziness that goes on with certain teams. So, as things stand, I believe Chelsea has 45 first-team players. 45 of them. Now, you can only play 11 as a starting 11 in a match, and you get, I believe, 7 or 9 players as substitutes, which means you have 2 full teams worth of players. No other team in the world has that. It is not a thing. Chelsea in the last 2 seasons have bought 35 players. My club, Arsenal, the 35th player we've bought, if you go back in time, was bought back in 2019. Chelsea did that in 2013 and 2023 and 2024. And they're signing players to 9-year contracts and 7-year deals. All these kids are 20. They're from Brazil. They're from Ukraine. They're from all these different places. They're bringing them all in and spending a crazy amount of money.
None of them are from California?
None of them are. And part of how they can do this is there's the financial fair play system that has been put in place that everyone thinks is going to affect the clubs like Manchester City and all these teams. They can't overspend, that they can't go out and say, you know what, we're going to splash $1 billion on this team, like the NBA's new apron system. It's going to...
None of them are from Florida?
None of them are from Florida. But Todd Boehly, the owner, is from America. And what this does is it allows you to buy players. Let's say I bought Steve Jones for 50 million euros. If I bought you for you signed a 9-year contract as a 20-year-old.
Probably underpaid.
Underpaid. I'd say 75 million is probably a better price. Let's say 50 million though. If you sign a 10-year contract, I can pace out how much money goes onto the books over that 10-year span. So if you're 50 million, comes the 10-year contract, I have to only put 5 million on the books every single season. So they're spending 200 million a summer, but they're only reporting about 10 million a summer or 20 million a summer because of how FFP now works. So they're just getting every player in the world, getting rid of all the kids that came through the Chelsea academies, getting rid of all of them, selling them on, saying, bye, see you, because you don't do much for us except give us money back in return. And they're buying these players, and they're doing a almost baseball model of, or any draft model of, if we take 10 players in the first overall draft pick, someone's going to work out, right? Sure. Someone's got to work, and that's what they're doing, and it's ruining the game, and I don't like it, Steve. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. It's making me mad, and it's all because an American went over to England, out of all things. I'm mad. I don't enjoy it. They're bending the rules and abusing the system and making a mockery of what is a great game. Even the big teams, the Man Cities, the ones who have a lot of money aren't doing that. It's crazy. I don't get it. I know. It's soccer, but my brain is just exploding. So I wanted to bring that up and get your thought on the fact that players signing 9-year contracts as 20 years old, having never played in a league outside of Brazil.
Well, I've talked about that in other sports. I've said over and over again in baseball, now again, ideology versus realism. So ideology. Idealistically, I would never give a position player more than 5 years. I would never give a pitcher more than 3. Right? Now, realistically, could I do that? Probably not. But that is... idealistically how I feel about it. Giving a 20-year-old a 9-year contract, okay? Might I present to everybody Wander Franco. 13-year deal with Tampa Bay, given to him when he was 20 years old. And
he's not going to play out any of those years.
He's never going to play again. Because of off the field issues. And you don't know what role the money plays in it, but it's something worth exploring.
Can you give me an example of a good 9-year contract?
Look, you have to earn your money in life. And I realize contracts are a combination of what you've done in the past and an expectation of what you can continue to do in the future. So, I mean, that's, but when you're 20 years old, what have you done in the past? You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything.
Nope.
And there are guys that at least have some part to their resume, so we'll keep this in baseball for a moment. Robinson Cano and Albert Pujols. Now, Pujols ended up hitting over 700 home runs in his career, but he signed that 10-year deal with the Angels for $240 million. Did it pay off for the Angels? Well, he missed a bunch of time. When he did play, he was productive. But no, Robinson Cano, performance-enhancing drugs, Mariners, contract was going to take him to 41. He ended up playing in the Mexican League.
Yeah.
Okay? Or you get in a situation like Dustin Pedroia, 8-year contract, gets spiked by Manny Machado on a play and ends up essentially ending his career.
Yeah.
You don't know with these things. I mean, there is risk when you do it, but when you give the contract to a 20-year-old, well, what have you accomplished?
Nothing.
Hey, you haven't accomplished anything to warrant a 9-year contract. You got to be kidding me.
They currently have players signed through the 2031 season as things stand, and more contracts are going to roll in that have currently not been officially announced, and it's expected for them to go through 2031, 2032. One player has already apparently that was rumored to be going to Chelsea, Samuel Omodion. He turned down a contract through 2032 and decided not to join Chelsea because he said, nope, I'm out of there. Not happening.
It's crazy.
Like,
I don't quite understand why. I mean, I know people want to lock up young talent and so forth. But it doesn't make any sense. You haven't done anything yet.
And it's not just you haven't done anything for me yet. There's only so many positions for players to play. Let's take in baseball. You can only have so many first basemen.
Right.
Because there's only one player who's going to play every game.
Right.
Like, you're not going to go out there and rotate first baseman every inning like it's the All-Star game, because that's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Because they need time to get into a groove throughout a season.
Right.
Chelsea currently has 7 goalkeepers on their roster.
That's a lot.
7 of them. No other team has more than 3, maybe 4, but they're trying to get rid of one. They have 7. Only one of them is above the age of 30. But he's their backup, and it's been known he's their backup. The other 6, all under the age of 30. 4 of them are under the age of 24.
So this guy coached Chelsea, and he wants to bring in 7 goaltenders? I mean,
no, this is the owner.
Yeah,
this is the owner. He's taking an American model.
Sounds like we got the wrong guy.
We got the right guy, and I am happy about it.
We got the wrong guy.
We got the right guy.
Right. Did he look at our roster?
If I were to tell you that Chelsea, as things stand right now, has 46 players on their roster. How many do you think are above the age of 30 or 30 or over? How many? I want you to give me a number. 46 players. How many are above the age of 30?
None.
2. 2 players above the age of 30. They have more players under the age of 20 than they do 30.
Yeah.
They have 8. You're signing kids to major contracts, they're not going to play for you ever. There is a limit on how many players you can bring in and loan out to other teams across the world.
Yeah.
So if I sign Steve Jones and then I loan you out to Bayern Munich in Germany, I can only do that with 7 total players. The rest of them either have to stay on the roster or can only get loaned out to teams in England, in the country. That is their rule, because they're like, you can't just get 1 million players and loan them out, because that's what Chelsea did in the past with their previous owner, who is now no longer in the picture. So they made that rule, and now you're sitting here with 7 goalkeepers, and you're sitting here with 8 center backs.
So we're bringing in a guy that likes 7 goalkeepers.
No, the owner is the cause of that. He's not the cause of that. He has come out and stated, I wanted to buy 1 guy, and I wanted to sell off 10, and I was told no, which doesn't make sense. He wanted to cut the roster down to get his players, his team, his system. The fact that he's Jerry Jones. Todd Bowley's doing what Jerry Jones does.
Can we get some people like from England or whatever that are really good and like quickly get them citizenship?
I mean, we've done that with a lot of players. A lot of players who have had the ability to play for the U.S. have come and joined. Fuller and Balogun's, of course, the biggest one in the last few years.
Let's go.
So we have Balogun. I mean, if you want to go to other sports, technically Joel Embiid. Like, it is something that we can do. And there are a lot of players that are rumored to possibly be joining the U.S. because they don't play for their national teams. Because if you're going to try and play for England, you got to be real gosh darn good.
I just want like expedited citizenship.
Expedited citizenship.
All I'm looking for. Yeah. It's it's no big deal. And then after the World Cup's over with, revoke it.
Yeah, of course.
What?
Because that's how that works.
Well, I'm glad you understand.
Yes, of course, Steve.
This is like Little League Baseball. I'm in it to win it.
Yeah. So it was just something that came to mind in terms of a bending of the rules and a bending of the system to make it so you can.
I think 7 goaltenders is too many. This is the guy we hired?
No, the owner is doing this. Todd Bowley's basically playing career mode in a video game with a real life soccer team when no one should be doing that.
I'm just pointing out the guy's got 7 goaltenders. I'm more concerned about it.
Like, would you trust me, Steve, to be the head coach of like the New Orleans Saints or the owner of the New Orleans Saints if I took over for Gail Benson?
Just so you know, I would not trust you to be in charge of the company softball team.
Exactly. And the fact that this dude is like, I'm going to do this, and this, and buy these players. He spent like $1 billion in a couple of years. He has blown through money, not sold players. He's breaking rules left, right, and center. The problem is we can't call him on it for another year because it takes 3 years for anything financially to happen in soccer. It's not automatic. It happens after 3 seasons. It's just part of the rules. It's dumb. It's stupid.
So you need us to get to the quarterfinals.
With the U.S. men's national team.
With 7
That's
goaltenders.
how I'm feeling. With 7 goaltenders. And one of those goaltenders will be named Kyle Leff. And going away from that, I want to talk about the Minnesota Vikings and injuries. It's a little bit of a different speed.
Well, yeah. Look, to lose 2 guys like that, because Jordan Addison got hurt yesterday.
Yeah. He apparently, it is only a mild ankle sprain, and they are confident he'll be okay.
Yeah,
but they're scared. There's worry.
I mean, to lose J.J. McCarthy, look, he was not going to, in all likelihood, was not going to be the starting quarterback to start the season. But probably by midseason, he might have a shot at being the starting quarterback. In the end, they signed Sam Darnold with the idea that he would be the starter and the transition guy. Well, now he's going to have to transition for the entire season. And when you're trying to make a move like that, where you change your quarterback, which means you change your direction, you deliberately selected this guy to be the future of your franchise. He is still the future of the franchise, but to see it delayed like this with an injury like that, it's a meniscus. That's tough for any organization. The organization was severely set back when Teddy Bridgewater got his injury. In fact, I had Scott Hansen on the show that day, and Scott's the one that broke the news on our show that Teddy Bridgewater had been hurt.
That was, 2016, I think?
Yes. And this is, and the Vikings have had this problem.
Kirk Cousins got hurt a few years ago.
For a long time.
It piles up.
They've had that, injuries have kept them from being a more productive team. I think O'Connell's a good coach. The Giants playoff game aside, where the Giants went into the Dome and beat them. But and it seems like he's always been a good quarterback coach. Okay.
Let's see what he can do with Sam Darnold. It's where they're going this season. It's going to be Darnold for the full year. So
right. No, and I understand that. It's going to have to be. In fact, we were in Minneapolis when they signed Darnold. And we were going over to get dinner, and I made the joke. I said, look at the line for the season tickets.
I believe my joke was it's the house that Darnold built because it was the day Sam Darnold signed a contract.
By the way, there was nobody outside.
There was no one outside the stadium that day. It was also the middle of March, so it was cold and windy.
And we were on a train.
On a train with...
Which I can point out we will never take again.
No, we will not.
Never take it. I will walk before I take that train again.
You know who they were having a good time, though? Analyst.
I will walk.
Dick Girardi.
No, even analyst Dick Girardi said he's not taking that train in anymore.
No, he was not.
I mean, that was...
It was a train ride. That's what it was, Steve. It was a train ride.
It was... eye-opening. How about that?
Yeah, eye-opening. That's a good way to put it. And speaking of eye-opening things, as someone who does not like the Falcons, I don't really like that they're trading for good players and getting good players like Matthew Judon. Matthew Judon got traded to the Falcons yesterday for a third-round pick after a Patriots stalemate in contract negotiations.
I have a lot of hate in you today.
Huh?
I have a lot of hate in you today.
Well, yeah, because I hate the Falcons. I think it's funny they lost 20 after being up 28-3.
Chelsea, you hate the Falcons. You hate the U.S. national team.
I do not hate the U.S. national team. You know that, sir.
You hate the new coach. I mean,
I love you're the one who's disparaging the new coach.
Oh, I just I'm sorry, but you got to have something to work with.
But Judon is now.
You're making the assumption he has something to work with.
Sure. Judon is now.
Have you watched the games?
I know. So Judon gets traded to the Falcons, and now people are joking, will he sign a contract with the Falcons? Of course, because Hassan Reddick got traded to the Jets, did not sign a contract because the Jets were like, oh, he'll play for us anyway. Which might be the most Jetsy move I've ever seen anyone do, is, oh, we're going to trade for a guy who's in a contract dispute. He's going to play for us, even though he's got a contract dispute, and he should be totally fine. Did you not see why he wanted to get traded?
I talked to Jody McDonald about this. I said, are you surprised Hassan Reddick wants to be traded? He said no. And this is where the Jets did not do the due diligence. When you sit there and you make a deal like that, and you probably have a conversation at some point like, hey, let's talk about the contract. And the Jets, I think, took the attitude of, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Instead of getting it straight when the deal is made. See, that's the problem. Oh, no, we're the Jets. And that's one of the problems you have. You're the Jets. You do stupid things like this.
Like, you look at other teams doing trades with players who want contracts. Brandon Ayuk. The whole discussion has been the Steelers and Ayuk have agreed to a contract if he's traded to the Steelers. And every team's been doing that. I presume they could have done that with Hassan Reddick and the Eagles. I'm fairly confident they probably could have. Because the Eagles would have been like, cool, go for it. We'll get a third-round pick out of this, maybe a second. By all means, talk with him. And they didn't. And now they're trying to say, oh, he's going to join us. He owes us the fact that he's joining us. No, he doesn't owe you anything because you don't want to pay him a contract when the dude wanted a contract in the first place when you traded for him.
That's right. It's their problem for not doing their due diligence and saying, okay, look, let's get the parameters of something. Before we make the deal, let's get the parameters of a deal here. And they didn't do it. And it dragged and dragged and dragged. And now they're looking around saying, well, what do you mean you want to be traded? Well, you want to be traded for a simple reason. They're not offering him what he thinks his value happens to be. He's one of only 2 players to have, to be in the upper echelon of double-digit sacks in each of the last 4 years. No.
And what I would personally like to see, I think it'd be very funny, is if the Eagles were to offer the Jets a 4th-round pick for Hassan Reddick.
He's not going back to the Eagles.
I know. But wouldn't that just be funny if a team traded a 4th-round pick for him so the Jets were just out a 3rd-round pick?
He is not going back to the Eagles.
He's not going back to the Eagles. But I would love one team, any team out there, offer the Jets a 4th. Right. Just a 4th-round pick. That's all. That's all I ask for.
Right.
That would bring me so much unmitigated joy purely because of the Jets being the Jets. And there's nothing more joyous in the sports world than the Jets jetsing it. Like the butt fumble's tough to top. That might top it. Is you trading for a player for a 3rd-round pick, him not playing for you because he wanted a contract and you knew that, and then trading him for a 4th. So you lost 1-round draft pick for nothing just to do it.
Yeah.
That would be a very Jets move. And that would make me smile. Is that fair to say out loud? Is that okay to say out loud? I hope Jets fans don't hate me.
I'm sure they're both not happy with you.
Oh, not at all, Steve. Not at all. But that's okay. We're living our best lives here. And I know we've discussed injuries earlier. I want to bring up the new SEC school, Texas, and their running back injury issues because they now have had 2 different running backs.
That's a problem.
Have an Achilles tear for the true freshman Christian Clark, and CJ Baxter had undergo knee surgery. So 2 of their running backs, both out for the season. That's just like, I feel like there's so many more injuries happening in sports now. A lot of the bigger injuries, not just the, pulled a hamstring out for a few weeks. Those ones happen. Those are like normal. I pulled my quad tendon and I was out for 2 weeks or 2 months, whatever it was. Like stuff like that is normal. But we're getting a lot of Achilles, a lot of ACLs, a lot of MCLs, and it's like getting to a worrying point.
You have to get to a point in this. Let's talk about training. Are you training to a point and a level where you've stretched every tendon, every muscle as far as it can go, and there's a point? It is something to be concerned about. I mean, training is a science. It is better than ever. Chuck Losey, brilliant at what he does. Greg Golden is great at what he does. But and there are also some people that overtrain. They do more than what.
Yeah.
Okay. Because these guys do build in rest in the training regimen.
Yeah.
There has always been issues in women's sports with ACLs. Whether it's structural or not, I don't know. But that's always been a problem in women's sports with ACLs. In men's sports, the surgeries are so much better now. But, for example, in baseball, UCL injuries.
It's 1 out of every 7 pitchers gets it at some point in like 2 years.
You're getting more Achilles in football and basketball. And you still have knee injuries, but you have other things too that are like I've heard of more pectoral strains, pectoral tears,
and you're out for a year for that in football. If you're no lineman, you're done for a season.
Than ever before. Why? Well, when you're lifting weights, exactly what part of your body is being pushed?
The pecs. When you're bench pressing, it's your pectorals. That's what it is.
So you have to ask, in looking at this closer, is there an area where maybe we're doing too much?
There is
same thing with an Achilles. I don't know.
It feels like there's a need for every team to have every player be the strongest or the fastest, and all of these things.
I will also say that there is more caution when it comes to somebody getting a strain or a sprain, because they're just trying to make sure.
Yeah,
and that's fine. But with Texas, these are players are going to be out extended periods of time.
An Achilles and this is a knee. Those are year-long issues.
I mean, they're going to be out extended periods of time, and it also goes back to the luck factor. So let's talk about the luck factor for a moment. And this is just something, there's no way to explain it, but I get a linebacker hurt. And then I get another linebacker hurt. And then I get another linebacker hurt.
Yeah.
I'm like going, why the rash of injuries at one position? There is no rhyme or reason as to why.
Niners with the quarterbacks last season, just three of them just dropped.
I mean, you just don't know. In other words, that's just the luck factor. Oh, great. He lost 3 linebackers. Oh, God. Right? Or, we're going to have to go out and sign somebody else. We've lost 3 wide receivers. Sometimes there's that rash of injuries at one position.
Yeah.
And there's nothing on the planet that explains why you have a rash of injuries at one position.
It's just bad luck.
And that could be, in the case of Texas, it could be. But as I said before, though, there are more injuries like strain pec, torn pec, things like that, which is not the case with this. Is an Achilles and a knee. But we're hearing more of those other injuries than ever
all the
before.
time.
And I think you then have to openly say, well, wait a minute, are they, and the answer may be no, training too much in that area? I don't know. The game is, because they are so finely tuned now, the hits are brought with more velocity, and maybe that has something to do with it, because guys are not going into, calling it training camp. You're not training. You walk into camp already in shape.
Yeah.
It used to be you go to training camp and you got in shape. Well, you're
doing a full off-season regimen.
If you're not walking into camp and training camp, you're already way behind.
And it's been something discussed a lot with basketball, especially, where the level of athlete now is just such an extreme, where when LeBron came in, he blew everyone out of the gym because no one should move like that. Now you're getting guys like Zion Williamson, who keeps getting hurt because he's a football player on a basketball court. And I know we'll discuss the
look, I think he keeps getting hurt because just an opinion from 30,000 feet, I don't think he's in good shape.
He's not in good shape, but still, you see players like Zion or players like John Morant, Anthony Edwards, these guys who are now jumping out of the gym on a regular basis, where the guys going 45th in the draft are exploding off the floor, and it takes a wear and tear on your knees. The same thing goes with football, where guys are coming in stronger, bigger, faster. Trent Williams is an offensive tackle. The dude can bench press pretty much any human being in the world and outrun pretty much anyone too. It shouldn't make sense, but that's now where we're at, where we're getting these people who are bigger, stronger, faster, taller, everywhere.
Zion Williamson, in my opinion, 30,000 feet, is out of shape.
Yeah.
John Morant, who's had so many off-the-court issues, who knows if he's coming back in shape?
But
Okay,
still, the point of...
I just don't... I mean, there are other circumstances besides just... just bigger, stronger, faster. There are other circumstances outside that we don't know about. By the way, Penn State men's ice hockey will be playing Notre Dame.
Ooh.
Well, they're in conference at Wrigley Field.
Well, that'll be fun. That'll be a good game for
Friday, January 3rd is part of the 4-game weekend Big Ten hockey series. It is the first outdoor game for Penn State in their history. It is part of a doubleheader along with Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State, Wisconsin women, along with Wisconsin and Michigan State men, will conclude the weekend event with a doubleheader on Saturday, the 4th. Game times for each day set for 4 and 7:30. So Penn State is going to play Notre Dame at Wrigley Field.
That'll be cool.
Their first ever outdoor game. All tickets will be sold and issued by Wrigley Field, with each ticket being digital and issued through now. It's the heck with keeping anything as a souvenir.
That is one of the things I still do. I don't know if you do it if you ever go to sporting events when you're a fan. I still print the tickets out. I find a way to print them out, and I keep them. I have a nice folder. I tuck them away in. I enjoy it. It's one of those things I like doing.
When I went to the Pirate game, I did it digitally.
Yeah. I know they're all digital now.
I mean, I wish I had printed tickets because the two grandchildren that went with me were it was their first ever game, so they should have had a ticket to keep. But
yeah, currently in my phone wallet, I still have my ticket for 2019's Syracuse versus Duke game, February 23rd, 2019. There you go. I love those. The
Misitano family giving the $25 million for Beaver Stadium. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet them over the years.
So far, not yet.
Actually, my interactions with them have been through Special Olympics. I mean, I met them at other things, but more Special Olympics because we do the Beaver Stadium run every year, and the Misitanos are there, and they received the Hero Award a couple of years ago because of everything they've done for Special Olympics. But this is a tremendous gift. You're talking about $25 million.
The second largest donation in Penn State history.
It's just, I mean, and I talked to the group in Harrisburg last night, and I said, look, the $700 million sounds huge. I got it. Everybody is making a big deal out of the number. I said, but you guys know when I was at West Shore Country Club. In the old iteration of this, I said, I told you 7 years ago, I wish they'd do it now because it'll be double the price in 7 or 8 years. Over here in the back, I mean, sorry, but these are things I've looked at for years. That's why I've talked about the Olympics for years, about how much facilities cost because they bid 8 to 10 years ahead of time. And, gee, I can't believe how much it costs now. We can't believe it. Oh, that's right. You're kind of like a bubble agency, right? You don't understand how the real world works. Okay, like the real world doesn't operate the way you think it does. Yeah. So, but that's, and when you look at this, what was thought to be a $450 million project's now $700. Okay, well, gee, what a shock! Right? So the $25 million is just a huge step forward. I mean, but those are the Misitanos. The Misitanos are just really good people. And like I said, my interaction, more of it has been with Special Olympics than it has been on the Penn State end of it. I've seen them at Penn State events and talked to them, but it's a more casual atmosphere at the Paterno run into Beaver Stadium. And that's...
and this is not their first donation, by the way.
No,
I know it's been talked about. They've provided scholarships and for field hockey, women's hockey, women's basketball.
Yep.
Like they've done a lot over the years.
And over and over again. I've been season ticket holders since 78.
They love Penn State.
They have season tickets for men's basketball, men's ice hockey. As you mentioned, they made gifts to the Football Excellence Fund, endowed scholarships for field hockey, women's basketball. I mean, on and on and on.
And when the project is done, the West Tower will be recognized with their donation.
Darn right it should be.
Yeah. It'll have a welcome center, expanded concourses, open views of the field and modern amenities, private luxury suites, loge boxes, and 2 distinct clubs seat experiences with lounge access.
Yeah.
So a lot coming in, and 25 million's big. Benny yesterday. It's a lot of money, Steve. That's what it is.
It sure is.
So,
and look, you see something like that, and that was big. I know Susan Robinson was there last night, and she was just like, said everybody's just like buzzing over this, and
it's awesome.
Which is great. And, I mean, I know the question I got asked last night was about NIL, and about the $22 million. And I said, look, I said 18 months ago, there was not a single athletic director in America that was thinking there was something going to have a $22 million hole to fill. I said, but I said, you have to, and I told the group, I said, you have to remember, based on the case, this was the best solution they could possibly get out of it, because if it went to trial, there was a strong likelihood that they were going to lose. And of course, in an antitrust case, everything's troubled.
Yeah.
And who knows what the number would have been. So let's just take the settled number.
Would have been large.
Right?
That's what it would have been.
Right. I'm saying, but let's take the settlement number.
Yeah.
And the settlement number probably would have, and let's triple the settlement number. So we'll just take that as a basic. Well, it's not just the $22 million that could have been 66. It's also the back pay number. Which would have been a backbreaker for everybody, because it's 60% right now of NCAA reserves being used for this settlement. There's no way that they could handle it. Exponentially more money would have been taken out of everybody's coffers on the NCAA basketball tournament, to the point where maybe you'd be getting hardly anything out of it. And that would have shut down a lot of programs across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about smaller, like mid-major, right, low major, whatever.
It would have been devastating.
The impact would have been off the charts. I said they needed to settle. I said this settlement at $22 million, as much as it makes you want to gulp,
you'd rather pay 22 than 66,
right?
I mean, every billionaire would say they'd rather pay less money than more money.
Right. Well, not only that, though, but it's the back one. It at least is making a dent in everybody's NCAA basketball distribution, and not a chasm.
It's not taking a hacksaw to it. It's taking a butter knife.
Right. Exactly. Now, the first of its kind, Tennessee has put together a deal with Pilot.
First team to have a sponsor on the field.
Right. So and it's a 20-year deal. And I would think that it's a strong possibility that this, I think it's a 20-year deal. It's going to set a precedent. The one thing I don't know yet is what is the number. I know it's 20, and at some point something tells me they're going to put a corporate deal in it. So Tennessee Athletics and Pilot, under the terms of the agreement, which is slated for up to 20 years and could extend further, the names of Neyland Stadium and Shields-Watkins Field will remain unchanged. Pilot is designated as the presenting partner of Neyland Stadium's renovation project. New signage will be put up, blah, blah, blah. Transformative sponsorship underscores its dedication to Knoxville, blah, blah, blah. They're also doing the renovation project. They want to upgrade their south end zone, the perimeter of the stadium, widening concourses, constructing expanded gates. That's what Penn State's doing.
And so I want to ask you, with now Tennessee being the first, because there's always got to be someone who's going to be the first to do something. They're the first. Do we think this starts the cascade of other programs doing this? Do we think we could see this across the board with the likes of Alabama, with Penn State? Do we think we'll start seeing more of these come out over the next few months?
No, it's going to happen because now the NCAA allows it to happen. And because it was allowed to happen, and this is where I think they made the mistake with the uniforms. It should have just done it all at once.
Get it all done.
God, financial terms not disclosed.
Heartbreaking.
Well, no, I think no. The reason that I want to know what the number is, well, if you're Penn State and you're sitting there in development, you'd like to know what the number is.
If Tennessee got, I don't know what the number, what do you think the number could hypothetically be for a 1 year?
I don't know. I mean, I can't.
Let's say it's 20.
Okay, so
of course, we don't know what the number is. Let's say it's 20.
Let's go with this. Tennessee and Pilot Corporation are in business together, but the deal won't alter the name of Neyland Stadium. Okay. Let me see. This is from the Knoxville.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What's Tennessee getting out of the deal with Pilot? Financial details were not disclosed, but one estimate indicates the branding deal will generate tens of millions in new revenue for Ball Athletics. Tens of millions.
So let's, 40, do we think?
I don't know.
But let's say it's 40 million. Let's just put that number at, we don't know what the number is, but let's just.
So it's $2 million a year?
40 million, I'm guessing, is it a year, tens of millions? Or is it over the lifetime of the contract?
No, it says it's going to generate tens of millions.
Is that per year? Is that what does that mean?
It doesn't say.
Let's say in that case.
It says financial terms were kept private. The branding deal's up for 20 years. They previously struck a deal with Food City to turn Thompson Bowling Arena into Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center, a 10-year deal that was worth up to $20 million.
Total.
Right?
So $2 million a year.
So $2 million a year. That's for the basketball arena.
Let's say it's then.
Sparks estimates this 20-year deal with Pilot could generate $60 to $80 million for Tennessee. So that would be
$3 to $4
million per year. So,
okay.
so between the two of them, that's $6. So if you're getting $6 out of the two deals, you have now reduced it to $16 million. You need to find.
What could Penn State, if they're getting $4 million for Neyland, what could Penn State get for Beaver Stadium? What do you think the number would be? Because of course Penn State's going to have a larger value to it. Where is this number going to get to for these programs?
I think you can get upwards, in my opinion,
10
million per year.
So you'd cut half of the cost of the 21 or so million, 22 million you got to spend a year.
To be frank with you, they do that with Thompson Bowling Arena. They can't do that with the Jordan Center.
Because it is not owned by Penn State.
It's not owned by Penn State, but it also does not have the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Thompson Bowling Arena is the home of the Vols men's basketball team, NCAA tournament team, the women's basketball team with NCAA championships in the past. I mean, obviously, Pat Summitt's passed away, but
purely on basketball alone, Penn State wouldn't be able to, even if it was owned by Penn State, it wouldn't have the same allure. But football wise, if you can crack 10, that's pretty good. That means it's 10 less million you need to find.
Which then, to me, brings the patch on the jersey. When you are sitting there with the patch on the jersey, This is why I'm shocked the NFL hasn't done this. But I did point out to everybody last night that, look, when the NBA has done it, outside of Love's
For the Thunder.
Love's, with the big yellow heart, I said for the most part, the logos, they have rules that have to be 2x3, no bigger than 2x3. 2x3, and they blend in with the jersey. I mean, for example, you're watching. Could you really see the Chime logo on Luka Doncic's jersey? I even made the joke. I said, after a while, the only thing I kept noticing with the Mavericks in the finals was Kyrie Irving was missing shots.
Yeah.
I said, didn't care what logo he's wearing.
But you couldn't tell what logo was there.
Vista prints on the Celtics, but it blends in the green with the Celtics. I mean, can you tell the Yankees have Star Insurance? All the hockey teams have it.
People are scared it's going to be a problem like it is in soccer, where you have the middle jersey. But that's what fans are assuming, and it's like, no, that's not what it is. They're not going to go down that route because that is a fully different thing.
And you're also not going to look like you're a NASCAR driver. Okay, with 5,000 logos all over your.
This is not Ricky Bobby. You're not going to have your entire front mirror covered in stickers.
It is, going to be limited to a sponsorship. They should have done it right away. Just you want to know why they should have done it right away? You need to get ahead. You need to get ahead.
But Steve,
okay, in other words, okay, it's starting next year. I need a head start.
Steve, may I make a point to you though? This is I think this might be the point I've made the most on this show. You're assuming the NCAA is thinking ahead.
I know they don't. Okay,
that's your assumption,
right? But now Jimmy Haslam is the one that is the founder of Pilot. He played football at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a big part of it. And not only that, he was a starter on the 51 team. Oh, and by the way, he played for Bob Nealon. Okay. Yeah. Other than that, so you're talking about something that
connection-wise
makes complete sense.
But if you're a business and you see the opportunity to sponsor Beaver Stadium, that's a heck of a deal. That is going to earn you a lot of money and a lot of mentions and a lot of everything across the board.
And there's going to be a lot. And look, there's going to be a lot with several SEC schools. Let's face it. You're not telling me Texas and Oklahoma can't come up with these deals. You're telling me Alabama and Georgia can't come up with these deals. Florida can't. I mean, look, in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, they can all do that. Now, Washington, you were allowed to have on your field if you had somebody that was an official corporate partner. Okay? So Pilot's not an official corporate partner.
Yeah.
Right? They're better than that now. But Alaska Airlines is already on the Washington field. They were an official corporate partner, and so that's why Alaska Airlines is on the field. As I said last night, I said, when Singleton's at the 30, the 40, the 50, I said, I could care less what he's running across.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just looking at the yard lines. I said, look, it's not like Penn State's never played games before they have corporate partnerships on the field.
Games.
I said, Chick-fil-A was on one side and the other side and had a logo in the middle. I said, the sandwiches I thought were good in the pregame. I said, but I didn't even think twice. I mean, I don't think
it's not a thought in the mind of anyone except for fans.
I don't think twice about that when I'm doing the game. I'm like going, check out the Chick-fil-A logo. I could care less.
And Aller runs by the Chick-fil-A sign. Oh, look at that. It's got a nice little cow on the outside of it. Right. And he scores a touchdown.
The only time it comes into play is, for example, say it's painted in such a way where it makes the field slick. Now you have an issue.
Yeah.
All right. Now the logo does come into play, and you do have to talk about it. Also, on grass fields, and Neyland's a grass field, right? Logos kill fields, or the area it's put in. So you got to be careful with it. The way Penn State has the Big Ten logo painted on the field doesn't kill the field. You notice it's not that deep, dark.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's there, but it's just there.
It's on top.
Yeah. as opposed to the end zone where they. I mean,
I think it's deep blue.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's done.
Yeah,
in a little different way. That's why Penn State doesn't have a logo in the center of the field. Put a logo in the center; it kills the field.
Yeah. I have a question to wrap up the show. How long until Oregon is sponsored by Nike? How long?
Hour, 2.
Yeah, I'd give it an hour and a half. I think that would, if they are not sponsored by Nike or Phil Knight or some Jordan brand or whatever,
right,
it would be thoroughly surprising.
Right. No, look, he's already been doing it for years anyway. What's the difference?
I know.
And it's interesting when I was talking with Dave Revson and I was talking with Jerry DiNardo. They said the Oregon facilities are impressive. He says, but for example, he says, your weight room, he says, is actually way better than Oregon's.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, which I thought, and I have not been to Oregon, so I have not been there. It's something
we will in what, a year, 2 years?
A year.
A year.
I think it's going to be a year. It should be if they rotate the basketball schedule the way I think they will. Oregon and Washington will come here this year, and Penn State will go out there for a weekend road trip next year. So
we'll get a nice trip out to Oregon.
And Washington at the same time. I've never been to either one of those states. But
well, there you go. Check off a few more states, Steve.
Yeah, but so they're going to bring in a guy to see if they can get to the knockout round.
They are.
It's quite the goal.
Woo!
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with